that has been launched by the Congress party. Here are visuals coming in of the Congress's protest. We see a nationwide agitation with the Congress now trying to break barricades, climb over them. In fact, they're defying the law. Undoubtedly, there's no permission that's been granted to them, but yet we see them trying to muscle the police and jump over barricades. These are visuals coming in of the Congress protest. Unfortunately, this is what they call as satyagraha. These visuals are telling. Clearly, the Congress has a flawed understanding on what exactly satyagraha means. Many of them pushing barricades, despite the police there asking for some calm. These workers, Congress workers, are trying to push over barricades, heckle the police and move over to the ED office. Across states, we're seeing the Congress workers who have launched an agitation where they're carrying out a march all the way to the Enforcement Directorate's office in condemnation to Sonia Gandhi's ED summons. Remember, this is an Enforcement Directorate summons to the Congress chief Sonia Gandhi. This is a corruption case which is being investigated, but yet it's being treated here or perceived by the Congress party entirely differently. They've been constantly harping that this is vendetta politics. At the same time, they're indulging in acts of arson and violence. These are visuals that we bring to you from Bengaluru on the right-hand side. We're seeing protesters there burning a vehicle. In fact, at this point, Congress workers are being detained in many parts of the country. The police using force. We're seeing water cannons being used on many of those Congress workers. Coming in from the national capital, Delhi. Water cannons being used against the Congress workers who are trying to break barricades and jump over the ED office. There's huge deployment of security. The cops there barricaded the entire area, not allowing for protesters to infiltrate, but yet relentless efforts by those Congress members trying to push over barricades, climb over all those blockades, only to create a scene. And clearly for the optics of it, they're not going to be allowed inside the Enforcement Directorate's office. This is just a show of strength and a show of unity for the Congress at this point. It's unfortunate that this ED summons has led to the Congress coming together as a united front. It's not, we've heard enough and more stories of the Congress bickering internally in different states, but this possibly is the one unifying factor. Ironically, this possibly is the only cause that has united the Congress party, the rank and file of the party across states. And we see clearly the anger and frustration of the Congress workers as they push over barricades, try to heckle the police and jump over to cross those blockades so that they can reach the Enforcement Directorate's office. Not going to happen, but yet we see relentless efforts of these workers to try and heckle the police department. In fact, the last time, one remembers how many of those Congress workers claimed that they were harassed and beaten and tortured by the police. They claimed that they were bruised and injured. In fact, Kumar Kunal joins us on the phone line, our correspondent, for a little understanding on what this really means. Kumar Kunal, no permission sought by the Congress workers to carry out this large-scale protest. Understandably, we put up barricades there. It's the Enforcement Directorate's office. None are allowed, but yet the Congress workers trying hard to barge into the premises. It's not going to happen, but we see relentless efforts, and then they indulge in arson and violence.
Exactly, and this scene we can see all over Delhi and even in other states that Congress workers are protesting against the questioning of Sonia Gandhi, which is happening right now at Enforcement Directorate office. And in that connection, this protest was organized by Delhi Congress at Delhi's Lieutenant Governor's house at Raj Niwas. And there police has stopped all these workers because there was no permission for this protest. None of the permission was granted to the Congress workers. Still, in a large number, these workers have gathered and they wanted to barge inside towards the Lieutenant Governor's house, and they have been stopped by putting barricades. Even water cannons have been used, and now somehow police has controlled the crowd which was going towards the LG office. So now, although the situation is under control, but still the Congress workers were quite aggressive and they wanted to go towards the LG House. So this thing was obvious, and all whatever the police intelligence was also aware that such kind of protest can take place. So they were fully prepared for that, and that's why they have stopped the workers before entering the LG premises or going towards the LG House on that road which is leading to LG House.
No, from what we saw the last time, the Enforcement Directorate's office were packed with Congress workers who were trying to barge in. They were, in fact, brute force was used against them by the police. They literally resorted to lathi charge at one point. The last time when there were protests over Rahul Gandhi being summoned, and we're seeing almost similar scenes this time as well. The last time there were complaints that the police tried to injure many of those while they were detained, etc. This time, are we seeing the police observing caution?
Actually, this time they have kept their strategy in wrap, and they did not disclose many things how they are going to protest. That's why police officials have a few problems, because they have not intimated about their protest. Earlier, when Rahul Gandhi appeared before the Enforcement Directorate, they took permission and they have written to the police to grant permission for the protest. But this time there is a strategical step by Congress, and they have not written to police to asking for the permission at various places. So it is a kind of challenge for police as well to control all these workers, because they don't have much information about all such protests which are going at different places in Delhi and even at other parts of the country, even in other states. So I talked to various Congress leaders, senior leaders, and they accepted that since police was quite prepared last time when they were protesting, no one was allowed to gather at places. So this time they have kept it as a secret, and now they are protesting according to their plans, according to their new strategy. So such kind of protests are happening, which we are witnessing at LG House at Delhi. But although the police is quite prepared and they have stopped Congress workers to enter towards LG House, and all the Congress workers who were participating in the protest were detained now.